It's honestly a little scary to think about how much power we have over our own lives. It's hard enough to figure out what YouTube video to watch while I'm eating. Do you really think I can make big life decisions? Even small decisions can have massive impacts on our lives, and there's no better example of that than in Life is Strange, a game that taught me one of the most important lessons of my entire life. Life is Strange follows Max Caulfield, a student at Blackwell Academy, as she and her friend Chloe team up to investigate the disappearance of their fellow student Rachel Amber. There's a pretty big twist though. Max has the ability to rewind time, which allows her to change her decisions within a certain time frame, and it allows her to solve puzzles that otherwise would have been more difficult or just flat out impossible. The game was a lot of fun. The gameplay was unlike anything I'd ever seen in a video game before. It plays kind of like a choose your own adventure game, but you also have to solve puzzles in order to get to the necessary locations to gather info on Rachel's disappearance. Your decisions actually matter in this game, so instead of just getting different dialogue from characters, the choices you make can actually mean the difference between life and death for some of those characters. The decisions you make can dramatically affect how the story goes. Now, if I'm being completely honest, sometimes I do like to choose the evil dialogue option, or act like a straight up menace just to see what's gonna happen.
You eat like a pig. Try the floor.
I was eating those beans. Are you fucking insane? I was eating those beans!
I could not bring myself to do that in Life is Strange though. I cared about the characters way too much. The interactions you have can also influence how easy certain parts of the game are and how you're able to go about solving certain puzzles. Depending on your previous actions, some characters may be willing to help you, or they may require some serious convincing. It makes the world feel lived in and real. One of the defining aspects of video games is that they're immersive and can react to the things that you do, and Life is Strange did that perfectly. The characters don't just feel like they're there because some developer programmed them to be there. It feels like Arcadia Bay is real, and these are all real people that actually live there, including me. That immersion made me way more invested in the characters and the story. The town was developed so well too, and although I don't live anywhere near Oregon or the Pacific Northwest, the setting was so beautifully made and had this really nostalgic feeling. The graphics in the game were beautiful, and I loved looking at the landscapes in the distance. The music was amazing too. I don't know who was in charge of picking out songs to include in the game, but whoever it was, they seriously deserve a raise, because all the songs in this game complement the vibes of Arcadia Bay so well. The gameplay was also really smart. The ability to rewind time is a pretty simple one, sure, but it's baked into the gameplay so well. The puzzles were all so well made, and I felt like a genius when I solved them. They weren't too hard, but they weren't too easy either, so I didn't find myself constantly looking up solutions or just powering through the game super quickly. The gameplay was really good, and it makes it hard to believe that the other Life is Strange games don't use the same rewinding time concept. It works so well in this game. The game takes place in episodes, which I thought was awesome. I've played plenty of games where the story is divided into chapters, and I love how it changes the pacing. Each chapter usually ends with some sort of cliffhanger or hook, and it keeps me in suspense and makes me want to play the next chapter as soon as possible. It keeps the game fresh because it ensures that something will always happen that's interesting, and it doesn't make me push through a game constantly waiting for something to happen. With a chapter system, I can play confidently knowing that at the end of the chapter, there will be a serious development to the story. Something simple like that makes a massive difference. Life is Strange took chapters or episodes to the next level. The game is a lot like a TV show, and if you told me that this game was based off of a TV show, I'd honestly believe you. Life is Strange is easily the best candidate for a TV adaptation. If you buy the game digitally, you can actually buy each episode individually, which I thought was pretty cool. I may have gotten the disc, but I like that there were options like that for people that bought the game digitally. Like other games with a chapter system, Life is Strange ends with a crazy plot twist at the end of each episode, but I think that Life is Strange easily does it the best. Other games have made my jaw drop at the end of their chapters, sure, but none have done it quite like Life is Strange did. And with the game letting you make choices that affect the story, at the end of each episode, you get to see what decisions the majority of players made. I'm not going to go into any specifics here, but all I'm going to say is some of you people make some terrible decisions. Life is Strange wasn't my first rodeo with episodes either. I had originally played the prequel, Life is Strange Before the Storm. Well, to be more accurate, I played most of it. I bought the disc for Before the Storm, which should have given me all of the episodes, but for some reason, I couldn't play the last one and had to buy it individually. At that point, I gave up and figured, you know what, I probably shouldn't play the last chapter anyway in case it spoils too much from the first game. To this day, I still don't know what happens in the final chapter, and I'm glad I didn't when I played the game because not knowing made the story of Life is Strange all the more suspenseful. Speaking of the story, Life is Strange had such an insane story, dude. Holy crap. I am a sucker for a good story, regardless of the medium. When I'm looking for a new game to play, I try to find games that are praised for their story. I want a story that can take me on a roller coaster of emotions, a story that gives me post-game depression, a story that will leave me staring blankly at the screen for 15 minutes after the credits finish rolling. Life is Strange delivered on all of those. It had so many crazy plot twists that I genuinely did not see coming. I tend to be hit or miss with these kinds of things. I either figure out exactly how the story is going to go pretty early on in the game, or I have no clue what I'm in for at all. I'm really glad that this game was the latter because it hit me hard. I also appreciate that this game was willing to get deep. I haven't come up with a definitive top 10 list, but out of the games that would likely be on there, I can confidently say that the majority of them get pretty deep and emotional. I love games that make me think not only about the story and the characters, but about myself. Life is Strange was not afraid to tackle tough topics, and I'm thankful for that, because it made me so much more aware of the world and things that are affecting people. Like I mentioned earlier, I never truly understood how impactful even the smallest of actions can be. A lot of characters in this game go through some serious hardships, but you wouldn't know that just from your basic interactions with them. It usually isn't until something catastrophic happens that you actually find out why people are the way they are. Sadly, that happens a lot in real life as well. Kindness goes a long way, and even if it's hard and doesn't seem like it makes much of a difference in the moment, it will in the long run. I know that sounds really cheesy, but there's a reason that every elementary school teacher you've ever had told you those things. I also learned that sometimes hardships can be a good thing. We've all been through tough times in life, and as much as I'd love to wipe all of mine from existence, would I even be the same person if they never happened? Life is Strange taught me that I wouldn't. In the game, we get to learn a lot about Chloe. Her dad tragically died in a car accident when she was younger, and it's obvious that it affected her. The life she's chosen to lead and the relationships she has with her friends and family have all been affected by her father's death. It's something that's clearly hurting her. So what if it never happened? During the events of the game, Max's time-traveling powers get much stronger. By simply holding a photo, Max can travel back to the time and place captured in the photo. Max uses this power to go back in time and prevent Chloe's father from going out to get groceries, which saves him from the car accident that he was killed in. And that obviously makes a massive impact on the timeline. That impact isn't necessarily a good one, though. In the new timeline where Chloe's dad lives to see Chloe's 16th birthday and gives her a car. Not too long after she gets the car, though, Chloe is seriously injured in a car accident and has to live the rest of her life disabled. The medical bills take a serious toll on Chloe's family, and Chloe is so unhappy with her life that she even asks Max to kill her. As bad as the previous timeline was, it's honestly better than the one where Chloe's dad lives. In the original timeline, Chloe's family does go through some hardships, but they're able to overcome them and move on. Chloe may have had to go through her own tough times because of her father's death, but the car crash she was involved in the new timeline clearly impacted her family more. The pain was dragged on for much longer in the new timeline, and the financial strain was significantly worse than what they go through in the original timeline. It's a lot like the canon events in Across the Spider-Verse. We've all been through tough times in our lives, but they shape who we are. Everything we've been through, good or bad, changes our very character. If they didn't happen, then many of the events in our lives simply may not have happened because we may not have chosen the actions that led to those events. It's a butterfly effect that grows stronger and stronger with time. Hardships teach us lessons and help us learn how to cope with problems going forward. I used to wallow in my own sadness and wish that nothing bad had ever happened to me, but now I know better. We're all going to face hardships at some point, so it's best that we learn how to handle them now rather than shut ourselves off from the world in hopes that we'll never have to face them ever. Every struggle I face makes me a better person, so I need to focus on moving forward in life rather than dwelling on the past. As JFK says in Black Ops Zombies,
"Do not pray for easy lives, my friends. Pray to be stronger men."
It may be cheesy, but it rings true. The game also made me a lot more confident in my purpose in life. This is definitely a recurring theme in these Changed My Life videos, but there's a reason for that. I tend to think about that kind of stuff all the time. I'm fascinated by philosophy, and I want to lead a life of purpose. When I die, I want to know that my life mattered to as many people as possible. I believe that nobody is born with a set purpose in life, but rather, people decide their purpose themselves. Everybody can impact society in their own way, no matter how minor those impacts may seem. Sometimes, though, I do doubt how useful of a member of society I am. I'm not super duper special in any way. I've never had some crazy talent that blows anybody out of the water, and I'm not rich or famous. Most people aren't rich or famous either. How can we impact society as ordinary people? Does anybody's existence really matter in the grand scheme of things? I think that the butterfly effect that Life is Strange focuses on completely validates our existence. Sure, her, Max literally has the power to rewind time and to time travel, but she's still an ordinary person like the rest of us. She doesn't have any more of a say in things than anybody else does, and her actions are just as impactful as anybody else's. The decisions you make actually change what people do, and those actions then impact the people around them, and then those people will act differently, impacting the people around them, and so on and so forth. There are plenty of decisions in the game that can literally mean the difference between life or death. Even small decisions can still change the world around you simply because of the ripple effects that each action has. So although the impact we have on society may not be immediately obvious to us, that doesn't mean that the impact isn't there at all. Maybe I sound crazy. I don't know. I am the king of overthinking things, but I was able to breathe a massive sigh of relief when playing this game. We could speak to someone once, and even if it's small talk or some insignificant conversation that the person might forget in an hour, we'll still be changing their life in a minor way. The world is created by a balance of action and reaction. Our mere existence changes the world. We're much more important than we give ourselves credit for. That made me feel much better about myself. The greatest example of the butterfly effect comes at the end of the game. Ever since the beginning of the game, Max has been having dreams of a massive storm blowing through Arcadia Bay and destroying the entire town. The storm ends up becoming real, and at the end of the game, she finds out that she can stop the storm from hitting the town, but at a pretty big cost. The storm exists because Chloe is still alive. You see, at the beginning of the game, she was shot by Nathan, a student at Blackwell. Max uses her powers to bring Chloe back to life, and that's when the two of them set off on their quest to find Rachel. That one change to the timeline created an insane butterfly effect though, which leads to the storm that could destroy all of Arcadia Bay. At the end of the game, you're given one last choice to make. Will you go back in time and let Chloe die in order to save Arcadia Bay, or will you let Chloe live and let Arcadia Bay be destroyed? It's a trolley problem that really hits you in the feels. You've spent the whole game with Chloe, and like I said, this game is pretty good at immersing you in the world, so it feels like that's a real friend right there, and now you have to sacrifice her in order to save the town. It's a heartbreaking decision, no matter which choice you make. When I beat the game, I decided to sacrifice Chloe for the greater good, but according to the statistics the game showed me after I beat it, only about 45% of players chose to save Arcadia Bay. So clearly, it's a tough decision, and there's really no specifically correct answer. If you save Chloe, then you're saving a good friend, but if you choose to save Arcadia Bay, you'll always live with the guilt of knowing that you could have saved Chloe. No matter what you do, you're gonna feel bad about it. It sucks. Needless to say, I needed a tissue box near me when I beat the game. It was an emotional experience that really touched me. Like I said earlier, I love games that really make me evaluate myself and the life that I'm leading. The most emotional games aren't the ones where the story alone is emotional, but ones that put a mirror up to my face and let me see my own experiences in the lives of the characters. Life is Strange has such an amazing story, and I truly cannot recommend the game enough. It helps me make peace with the hard times I've faced, and it's helped me feel that my life does have a purpose. It truly changed my life, and I will always be thankful for that.